Hello everyone, welcome to my video blog, AgriView. This is the second episode, and last time we had a discussion about Modi laws, whether they are for market, businesses, or farmers. Now, over past 1 week, a lot of water has flown below the bridge. What we saw last week is very different than what we are seeing it today. Unfortunately, the talks between farmer and government has been inconclusive. This leads us to in a very difficult situation where both the parties, the government and the farmers, have become intolerant to each other. We are seeing the name calling becoming a norm, with government believing what farmers are doing is against the spirit of India, and the farmers think that government is anti-farmer. Now both the stands are far from the truth for a very simple reason. No government in India can have anti-farmer mindset. At the same time, the farmers who feed us, they can never be anti-national. But current situation, what does that mean? First, we are having lakhs of farmers on road protesting, doing dharnas, rail roko, road roko. We are currently going through a phase where the sowing for this season has just happened. Even if we forget the economic losses because of all this disturbance, the loss because of loss in productivity as farmers won't be on field but on roads would be humongous. Wheat, potato, two critical crops are grown in this season. And if we have a scenario where the productivity of these two crops goes down, definitely India would have challenge on its hand. The upcoming economy, which has been battered severely by COVID and have been only saved by agriculture sector, will again go for a tailspin. But the implication would not just be for India as a nation. This implication would also be for the world because the food economics of the world would be under tremendous stress because of what's happening in India. It is imperative that we find the middle ground. It is very important that farmers start seeing government as their ally and the government starts seeing farmers as the critical component of the great nation we call India. No more we can have a scenario where both of them they are taking divergent directions. It's not possible that we have this current situation of super trust deficit among these two critical players for the country. Now, what should that middle ground be? That is what we need to understand. And that is what we need to understand clearly that both parties will have to move few steps towards each other to make things conducive for us to come out of the current turbulence. Let's set the facts straight. Do India need agriculture reforms? The answer is 100% yes. We cannot continue the way we were continuing till now. And if there is any institution which can do agriculture reforms in India, then it is only the central government. They have the large macro picture in front of them. They can understand the challenges of the farmers. They can understand challenges of the consumer. They can understand the challenges which we face both towards the agriculture distress as well as food security. So definitely reforms cannot be done at the state level, cannot be done at the institutions level. It has to be done at the national level by the central government. So that's the fact number one. Fact number two, are farmers currently in a state where we can say that they are satisfied? The answer is no. So For sure, we need to change few things to ensure our Indian farmers are prosperous. The fact number three, are these bills conceived with the mindset of being anti-farmer or pro-corporate? The very clear answer we found in the last AgriView session was that no, these are holistic reforms. But this is not the time to go and delve too deep into whether the farm acts or laws were perfectly right or not. Yes, they had few commas and full stop which were not at the right place. But let's find out what can be done to come out and salvage the current situation. The time for super optimization is over. Time is for consensus building. So let's first of all address the elephant in the room, the MSP or minimum support price. Now let's understand what was the intention of the government. The government's intention was very clear that as between 6 to 8% of the farmers are only getting MSP, can we work out a better mechanism to make investment, efficiency, transparency come to the agriculture sector? However, farmers were also not wrong in having their apprehension because since 2016, many of the documents which were either the concept papers or OPEDs or views from some of the functionaries of the government directed towards doing away with the MSP and always claiming MSP is an inefficient system. This led to farmers to believe that the initial ordinance which were enacted as law were with the intention of doing away with the MSP. Now, what is the situation or what is the scenario which will suit them both? Farmer wants that the government procurement for the agriculture produce should not stop. No government after the National Food Security Act 2013 can even think of doing away with procurement of food commodities from the market. So for sure, millions of metric tons of the food as was in the past and which has in fact increased this year will continue going forward. Government purchase everything, especially the 23 commodities at MSP or prices which are sustainable for farmers. So going forward also there is no reason to believe that government will not do that. However, government has always distanced itself when it comes to making MSP a statutory provision as a law. Their apprehension is that in case you also make MSP mandatory for the private players, you'll go for a economic tailspin. First, your inflation will be skyrocket. It will just balloon, leading to a situation where more and more people would move towards the public distribution system, leading to more pressure and stress on already weakened government finances. Second, if they try to control the hyperinflation, they will end up in a situation where a lot of food produced by farmers would not be picked by the traders, leading to a situation where a large number of farmers would end up coming in a zone of being non-sustainable, moving out of agriculture, which is also not good for the agriculture sector itself. Now, in these contexts, what can be done? The biggest apprehension which I said of farmer was that government not procuring. So now this is the recommendation number one. Rather than changing the farm laws, government can amend the National Food Security Act 2013 to add one line in that saying, henceforth, all the procurement for this specific act, which is National Food Security Act, would be done at MSP, and government will only procure from farmers, farmer cooperatives, or FPOs for the same. This will remove the apprehension of the farmer that government will stop buying. At the same time, it will ensure government doesn't get into territory of overinflation. Now, once we have addressed the MSP part of it, MSP is closely connected with the second contentious issue, which is APMC controlled, monitored, and managed mandis. Now, again, there is an apprehension in the farmers that the intention of government is to close down APMC based mandis by creating a field which is inclined toward private mandis by allowing them to open mandis without any tax. Now, here there is a big challenge. If you have private mandis, which will have different states having different taxes, it will create the same scenario which we see currently in case of liquor and petrol, where in different states you have different price points. One state actually competes with other and creating a lot of unnecessary inefficiencies. Second, government understands very clearly that APMC are not the most efficient way of procurement. The case in point is that Food Corporation of India, which buys majorly from these APMCs in the green belt of Punjab, Haryana, Western Uttar Pradesh, Northern Rajasthan, the cost of wheat, where the MSP is close to 19 rupees 75 paisa, the landed cost for the government ends up to be close to 35 rupees. Now, that's not a very efficient system. Now, same inefficiency is also when traders are buying in these mandis, and traders unfortunately make the farmer pay for these inefficiency, which is not their inefficiency but the inefficiency of the system, because they are the weakest link in this chain. Now, how do you solve this problem? Excuse me. This problem can only be solved if both farmers who have been asking for reforms in APMC, more investment in technology in APMC, and when we need 40,000 mandis or marketplaces, we are having close to 6,000 of them, which also make it very, very inefficient for farmers to sell their produce. Now, government can solve this problem by, rather than leaving the current farm law passing on the responsibility of marketplaces to the state, they can put a 5% GST on all the transaction of private mandi, which would be approximately on average for next 5 years 20,000 crore per annum. This 20,000 crore per annum can be used to open 1,000 new mandis every year. In next 10 years, we would be having close to 10,000 government supported mandis, while we also have private sector opening up on their own marketplaces and also taxed the way that mandis are taxed. This will also force or motivate APMC based mandis to become more efficient, transparent, and deploy technology to ensure farmer get the right price. Now, once we have taken care of the MSP and the mandis, let's talk about the third contentious issue. The third issue is where the farmer believe that the removing of ceiling in the Essential Commodity Act will lead to corporates buying at the lower price, hoarding it, and then selling it when the prices are high. Now, this is not just a challenge for the farmers, this is also a challenge for the consumers, because there are possibility that they would be fleeced based on the demand and supply gap, which exists hugely in India. We already grow far higher amount of wheat and rice than we consume, and because of the economics of Indian agriculture, the what we produce is not economically viable to be exported. In this scenario, definitely those who are allowed to store huge amount of commodities can play a foul game. But at the same time, government also understands one thing, that we need humongous amount of investments when it comes to setting up the cold storages, dry storages, mid-size or small-size storage facility is not economically viable. That's why we are having so many of small or mid-size storage going through the financial distress and some of them becoming NPA, even though they were subsidized. Now here, the government has already taken the first step by allocating close to 1 lakh crore for agriculture infrastructure. However, this money can be allocated to farmers cooperative, FPOs, agriculture entrepreneurs and startups. If government remove the remaining two, which is agriculture entrepreneurs and startup, this 1 lakh crore rupees of fund would only be allocated to those institutions where the farmers have control as well as stake. So any profitability happening in these type of storages or storage infrastructure would be for the farmers. So by just removing the agriculture entrepreneurs and startup from the government plan of investing 1 lakh crore in agriculture infrastructure, government can ensure that first there is a counterbalance, which is infrastructure owned by the farmers against the agriculture infrastructure owned by corporates, so that there is no escalation of prices because of manipulation. So that takes care of the third contentious issue. But the fourth contentious issue, which is the Contract Farming Act. Now the biggest apprehension of the farmers is that because farmer doesn't understand law too well, he might end up getting into a contract which is against him. And with government allowing only the local level revenue official to intervene initially, and farmer not going to civil court but can only go to higher constitutional court like High Court or Supreme Court in case they are being done away with a wrong execution of a contract. Now the challenge is that government also understand, if you from SDM and the collectors, if all these cases coming out of Contract Act are moved to courts, our courts are already overburdened. So we will end up in a situation where a simple 1 acre or 2 acre or 3 acre farm contract can linger for maybe a decade, putting huge amount of financial distress to the farmer. At the same time, you have keep on adding to the number of cases. Now there is my recommendation number 4. Government can create a agriculture commission to take care of such cases, because I also agree that SDMs and district collectors, they neither would have time, at the same time they would not have the detailed understanding of agriculture sector to decide in a short duration of time whenever such conflicts comes to them. So by setting up an agriculture commission, government would be able to solve this problem. Now coming to the final contentious issue, which I believe are the showstoppers. Who should be allowed to buy from farmers? Government tried to make the entry barrier for agriculture trade low by allowing anybody with a PAN card to buy from the farmers. And farmers' apprehension was that in case wrong people get into the agriculture trading, they buy from the farmers and just disappear, don't pay, then what to do? Now the government has moved a step forward saying that the states can register these traders. Now again, this will put us in a scenario where the impact of reforms will not be as prominent as they were supposed to. I have a different suggestion, which is my last and fifth recommendation, that government can set up in every private and public marketplaces NABARD and empower through regulation NABARD to open an escrow account for every trade transaction between a farmer and a trader. That will ensure that only those traders which have financial capacity on the day when they are getting into a trade with the farmer to execute. At the same time, trader will have control on if farmer is delivering the right quantity and quality to the trader for them to be successful in that trade. By recommending these 5 points, my intention is very simple, that India cannot live further without agriculture reform. At the same time, we cannot also be in a situation where the farmers and the government are against each other. I hope you would have enjoyed this session of AgriView. Look forward to meet you again next Sunday with one more insightful story. Thank you.